My name is Claire Whitmore, and 5 days ago my sister told me I killed our father. It was raining the day of his funeral. Of course it was. The kind of slow, cold drizzle that seeps into your bones, not enough to soak you, but enough to remind you you're still alive. I stood by the casket alone, fingers curled around the folded program, trying to feel something that wasn't just numb. That's when she appeared, Ella. My older sister by 2 years, but always 5 steps ahead in every room. She walked straight toward me, black heels clicking on the wet stone, her expression carved from ice. She didn't cry. She didn't say, "Hello." She just leaned in, close enough that no one else could hear, and said, "You're the reason Dad died." Then she walked away. I didn't flinch. I didn't scream. But something inside me cracked. Flash. Summer, 1997, Ella pushed her way to the front of the school talent show stage, snatching the microphone from my hands. "It's my solo," she hissed, even though we were supposed to share it. The audience clapped anyway. Later that night, I sat in the garage with Dad, helping him polish the old grandfather clock he was fixing up. I remember how he looked at me. Soft, warm. The kind of attention Ella never wanted, but always noticed. "Takes patience," he said, winding the gears slowly. "Just like truth." Flash. Thanksgiving, 2018. The business was falling apart. Our family-owned antique restoration company, passed down from Grandpa Whitmore, was bleeding money after a string of bad investments. Dad was terrified. Ella was twitchy, always on her phone, always talking fast. One night, Dad called me to his office. The room smelled like varnish and cold sweat. He shut the door. Didn't sit down. "Claire," he said, "I need you to sign something." He handed me a manila folder. I opened it. Legal documents. It looked like I was the one who misfiled the investment reports. The implication was clear. If I took the fall, Ella was safe. The business could survive. "You want me to lie?" I asked, the words barely making it past my dry throat. "I want this family to stay together," he said. "Ella, she won't survive a scandal like this." "And I will?" He didn't answer. I walked out of that room, and I never looked back. Now, 5 years later, I was back. Standing beside a grave I hadn't even been invited to dig. Ella stood at the front of the chapel, giving a eulogy like she was reciting lines from a play. "He loved deeply," she said, voice trembling. On cue. "But some betrayals leave wounds that never heal." I knew that line wasn't about Dad. It was about me. Heads turned subtly in my direction. A woman near the 3rd row whispered, loud enough for me to hear, "Is that the one who left?" Didn't correct her, because yes, I left. I walked away from the business, the family dinners, the cold calls, the guilt. I told myself it was survival, that I had no other choice. But standing there now, watching Ella soak in the sympathy, watching her bask in the role of the grieving daughter, I felt something else crawl up my spine. Regret. And something darker. Because as much as I had tried to bury it, I still wanted to know. Did he ever forgive me? Did he ever understand? That's when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned. A man in a dark gray suit, briefcase in hand. Late 40s, well-groomed, not a mourner. He handed me a plain envelope. My name was written across the front in my father's unmistakable handwriting. Sharp, careful, underlined twice. "He left this for you," the man said. "Only you." I held that envelope in both hands, staring at the familiar loops and slashes of the man I hadn't spoken to in half a decade, and I realized whatever truth he took to his grave, he wanted me to have it. I didn't open the envelope right away. I drove for almost an hour first, just kept going. No destination, headlights cutting through light fog and memory. The envelope sat on the passenger seat, as if it were watching me. As if he were. My father's handwriting stared back at me. Claire underlined twice. "No love, Dad. No to my daughter. Just my name, like a reckoning." I ended up in the parking lot of an old diner we used to go to on Saturdays, when things were simpler. I turned off the engine, sat there. The sound of rain ticking against the windshield. Finally, I tore it open. The paper was thick. The ink slightly smudged in places. He must have written it by hand. There were 3 pages, and a smaller envelope inside, sealed. I took a breath, and I started to read. Claire, if you're reading this, then I've already left this world. I don't know what they told you about me or why you came back, but I need you to know something. I failed you. I didn't stand up for you when I should have. I let you walk away because it was easier than facing the truth. You were never the problem. You were the only one telling the truth. My throat closed. He went on. Ella didn't just make a mistake. She orchestrated it. She took money from the wrong people, used your name to hide the transactions, and when it all started crumbling, I asked you to take the fall. I knew you wouldn't. That's why I didn't fight when you left. Because deep down, I knew. You were right. The world blurred at the edges. Outside the diner, someone walked past with an umbrella, laughing on the phone. Somewhere life was moving forward, but I was stuck. Frozen in this moment where my father, was peeling away 5 years of silence and guilt with every word. I let Ella manipulate me. I told myself she needed protection, that she was fragile. But really, she reminded me of myself. Impulsive, reckless, charming. And you? You reminded me of your mother, quiet, steady, the one who always saw through the noise. I thought I was saving her, but I abandoned you. There it was, the truth I'd been afraid to admit to myself. He didn't choose Ella because she was better. He chose her because he saw himself in her, and he couldn't bear to face what that meant. I tried to contact you, called, wrote. Ella intercepted everything. She said you wanted nothing to do with us. I should have tried harder. I should have driven to your door, but I didn't. That's on me. This letter, it won't fix what I broke, but maybe the truth can start to. Inside the other envelope are documents, originals, proof of what really happened. Do what you will with them. I only ask one thing. Don't let her rewrite the story again. You deserved better. Love. Dad, I sat there for a long time, the letter in my lap, my hands shaking. The rain had stopped. I reached for the smaller envelope. Peeled it open. Inside, bank statements, a scanned copy of a signed confession, Ella's name at the bottom, a USB drive labeled simply, voice. My stomach flipped. I clutched the envelope to my chest, and I did something I hadn't done since the day I walked out of my father's house. I cried, not for the years I lost, not for the betrayal. I cried because for the first time in a very long time. I didn't feel crazy. I wasn't the villain in this story. I never had been. And now, I had proof. That night, I booked a hotel. I didn't call Ella. I didn't respond to the handful of messages from distant relatives saying, "Nice to see you," again. I just sat on the bed with the documents spread out in front of me, and for the first time in 5 years, I slept. Because in the morning, I was going to burn down the lie they'd built. The next morning, I didn't wake up with clarity. I woke up angry. Not the loud kind, not fists through walls, throw things kind. This was quiet rage, the kind that simmers behind your ribs and makes everything you touch feel too sharp. I laid out the evidence again, one piece at a time. The bank statements. 4 transactions traced directly to Ella. Money funneled through fake restoration orders, then corrected under my employee ID, the confession draft, typed, dated, unsigned. But her name was in the file name. Ella statement, final.docs. She never expected anyone else to see it. And then, the USB. I hesitated. Plugging it in felt final somehow, like crossing into something I couldn't come back from. But I did it anyway. There were 5 audio files, each dated, each one barely 2 minutes long. I clicked the first. My father's voice came through the tinny laptop speakers, tired, raspy, like he was sitting alone in the dark, recording his guilt just to get it out of his chest. I should have told the truth when Claire walked away, But Ella was crying, saying she'd lose everything, and I panicked. I didn't want to see my family ripped apart. So I let Claire go. I let her take the shame. And God, I wish I could take it back. My breath hitched. I listened to the next file. She forged those contracts. I knew it. I saw her do it. She said she'd fix it, but she never did. I kept thinking, if I protect her this one last time, maybe she'll change, but she never did. By the third file, my hands were shaking. I miss Claire, every damn day. I miss her quiet honesty. She never lied to me. I just didn't want to hear the truth. That's on me, not her, not ever. That's when I broke. I curled forward on the edge of the hotel bed, face in my hands, and sobbed. Not because I wanted to, because I couldn't hold it in anymore. 5 years. 5 years of silence, of being painted as the selfish daughter who abandoned her family. 5 years of second-guessing every choice. And all this time, he had known. He had known. The final file ended with a sentence I would never forget. If she ever reads this, Claire, please know. I always loved you. I just didn't know how to show it when it mattered most. I sat in silence for a long time after that. The clock on the nightstand ticked softly, ironic, considering what we used to build together. That's when I pulled the broken clock from my suitcase. It was small, mahogany with brass hands, something we had started repairing years ago but never finished. It had sat in my closet all this time, dusty and cracked. I never had the heart to throw it out. I turned it over in my hands now. The back panel was still loose. A few gears were missing, but the structure was intact, like me. I went downstairs, printed the documents, burned the audio files onto CDs. I made extra copies. I wasn't just coming back with emotion, I was coming back with evidence, but I wasn't planning to confront Ella yet. Not until the post-funeral family gathering, when the cousins and uncles and old family friends would be there. The ones who'd whispered behind their hands. The ones who said, she just disappeared, and poor Ella, left to pick up the pieces. No, if Ella wanted an audience, she was going to get one. That night, I stared out my hotel window at the empty parking lot. The rage had cooled, but something steadier had taken its place, something sharper. Conviction. People like Ella thrive on silence, on everyone around them, agreeing to forget. But my father didn't forget. He remembered. He wrote. He recorded. He sealed it in my name. And now I had a choice. I could bury it with him, or I could finally tell the story the way it really happened. And this time, I wasn't the one walking away. The gathering was exactly what I expected. Linen tablecloths, tiny sandwiches, too much perfume and not enough honesty. The house still smelled like our childhood. Polish, dust, lemon-scented cleaner masking decay. Ella was already holding court in the living room. Her black dress cinched just so, her makeup flawless. She was telling some tearful story about Dad's final days, how he'd whisper, "Where's Claire?" as if I'd been the one who vanished. She didn't see me come in, but the room did. Heads turned. Conversations dimmed. My Aunt Julie blinked, clutched her wine glass tighter. Ella paused mid-sentence, spotted me. For a moment, just a flicker, I saw it. Fear. But then she smiled. "Claire," she purred, arms out like we were friends meeting for coffee. "I wasn't sure you'd show." "I wasn't sure you wanted me to," I replied, matching her tone. Then I stepped closer and said, just loud enough, "But I brought something Dad left for me." Her smile twitched. "Now's not really." "He asked me not to let you rewrite the story," I said. Then I opened the folder. I pulled out the papers, laid them on the coffee table, one by one, bank records, emails, the confession draft. The room shifted. "What is this?" Uncle Mike asked, already leaning in. "Proof," I said, "that I wasn't the one who nearly bankrupted the business, that I wasn't the one Dad was covering for." Ella's face turned to stone. "Don't do this," she whispered. "Do what?" Tell the truth? Aunt Julie picked up one of the pages, reading. She looked up, stunned. Ella, this is your email. Those are fake. She's lying. Dad would never. I pulled out the final piece. The CD. This is his voice, I said. 5 recordings. He names you. He confesses what really happened, and he apologizes. To me. Silence dropped like a hammer. Ella stared at the disc like it was poison. You don't get to play victim forever, I said. Not when the truth is sitting in your lap. And then it happened. She cracked, just a hairline fracture at first. Her shoulders sagged, her hands trembled, then came the tears. Real ones. I was scared, she said softly. I didn't mean for it to go that far. You. Let me walk out, I said. You let everyone believe I betrayed him, for 5 years. He always loved you more, she snapped, voice suddenly sharp through the tears. You were the favorite. You had him wrapped around your little clock-making finger, and I just wanted a chance to be seen. There it was, not guilt, not remorse, envy. I let the silence stretch. Then I said it, clear, steady, final. You didn't lose everything, Ella. You gave it away. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing into her perfectly folded hands. Around us, no one moved. Uncle Mike looked away. Aunt Julie set her wine glass down without drinking. No one came to comfort her. No one defended her. Because they knew. Deep down, they always had. She didn't just lie. She rewrote the truth and wrapped herself in it like armor. But now it was unraveling. I gathered the folder, slid everything back inside, and as I turned to leave, Ella whispered one last thing. You think you've won? I paused. No, I said. I think he finally told the truth. That's not a win. That's the bare minimum. The door clicked behind me, and just like that, it was over. 5 years of exile. 5 years of silence, shattered in one afternoon. And the best part? I didn't need to scream. I didn't need revenge. I just needed the truth to speak louder than her lies, and it did. The house was quiet when I returned. Not the kind of quiet that waits, the kind that accepts. It had been 3 days since the confrontation. Ella hadn't called. No one had. No one needed to. The silence was its own answer. I stood in the doorway of Dad's old workshop. Dust floated in the shafts of light coming through the blinds. Everything was just as he left it. Neat, precise, unfinished. I walked past the shelves of gears, bottles of oil, folded cloths, and sat at the old wooden bench where we used to spend weekends, and I pulled out the clock, mahogany body, brass hands, slight crack across the face. He and I had started it the summer before everything went wrong. We never finished, until now. I opened the back panel. A few pieces had come loose in the move, but nothing was missing. Just misaligned. It wasn't broken, just waiting for someone to care enough to fix it. For the next hour, I worked in silence. The soft clicks of tiny screws, the satisfying snap of gears slipping into place. It was like therapy in reverse. Instead of digging through pain, I was building something new. Something that still ticked. My hands moved with muscle memory I didn't realize I still had. I adjusted the balance wheel, reset the tension spring, realigned the escapement, and then finally, I wound it, one slow turn of the key, click, tick, tick, tick. It was quiet at first, then steady. Alive. I sat back and looked at it, time moving forward. A broken thing restored, a mirror of everything I thought I lost, and everything I finally reclaimed. On instinct, I turned the clock over. There, carved into the base in my father's unmistakable handwriting, were 6 words. For the daughter who told the truth. I didn't cry. I smiled. Not the kind of smile that hides pain, the kind that comes when pain finally lets go. I left the clock on the workbench. It belonged there, not in a box, not hidden in a closet, but here, ticking softly in the space where I learned who I was. I stood in the doorway one last time, looked around, and whispered, I thought I lost my family, But the truth brought me back to who I am. I didn't leave with vengeance. I didn't need their forgiveness, just my father's. And in the end, he gave it to me the only way he could, not with words, but with time.